All right, welcome. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. We are normally coming to you from me, Southern California, Debbie, the Phoenix area. Debbie is still in the Phoenix area.
I am.
And so am I. And so is the EWTN show team and many others from the network. And we are going to be having a spectacular few days coming up. Today we're doing the radio show live from the convention center. And then we have the retreat trip to the Sisters in Tonopah, Arizona tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then the Catholic Radio Conference on Friday. And then we have the EWTN Family Celebration on Saturday, which is free, Debbie, for anyone who wants to come.
Yeah, we hope to just pack the place. That would be wonderful. Are we on video? Because you're looking on both sides. Is that right there? So we wave. Hi, guys. Hi, YouTube, Facebook. Get your chats going. We have an interesting topic today. Who put this on the calendar?
Must have been Ace, our producer.
When in doubt, let's blame Ace. He's standing right here. That would be great. Okay, we're talking about gambling today. Do you like to gamble? And that includes, let's see, sports betting, horse racing, bingo, casinos, even maybe the stock market. Do you like to gamble? Do you have that kind of adventurous spirit and you like that? So please call in and tell us. You don't have to out yourself. You don't. Johnette and Jack were just waving. We're waving back to them. You don't have to out yourself and say, okay, I'm a gambler. Let's talk about it. But let's talk about gambling in general because it does appeal to the addictive side of our brains. And so it's very interesting. So let's please call in and weigh in on this topic. 833-288-3986.
Well, as always, it's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. And you are the key people who make the show what it is every day. And Debbie, I thought set that up very, very well. And it just seems like there's a proliferating number of legal ways to gamble. I mean, casinos are everywhere. Lotteries. What about the lottery? Here a few weeks ago, Deb, we had that Mega Millions lottery jackpot.
We
what,
did?
1.2, 1.3 billion. And someone won that. Two people won that, so they split it. What kind of got me frustrated a little bit is when I heard on the news that the government took like 70% of the money, and they only had a poor, $435 million to split between themselves. But, the Catechism of the Catholic Church says that legal gaming in moderation is okay. We can pop into a casino once in a while and, drop a few coins on the table, play some blackjack, things like that, spin the roulette wheel. What we want to avoid, though, is getting too entrenched in this. And I could speak, I won't, but I could speak for a long time about a beautiful, beautiful dear friend. Debbie, you would know her. I'm not going to say her name. But her husband actually spent time in prison for embezzling money from his employer because he had a gambling addiction.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Very dear soul of a woman. He's a beautiful, wonderful guy as well. He's out of prison now. He's been out for a long time. But so this is one of those things, Debbie, we can take and kind of run with it a little bit and say, hey, this is kind of fun, and then all of a sudden, you're going a little bit deeper and deeper.
I have to tell you something. I've actually heard of a few priests that like to actually gamble. And they're on their day off, so they're not in their clerics, obviously, but they like to just, relax and unwind. And, I've talked to other priests about it, and they just feel like, if there's not any harm in that, it's in moderation. They just want to, totally have a little bit of entertainment. They're not losing, a lot of money. They're not, obviously taking any money from the parishes. Then it's fine. It's not like any type of sin. Would you agree with that? What do you think?
I would agree with that as you stated it, yes. But again, a person who's going to go do a lot of gambling is going to have to take a lot of things into consideration. How is this going to impact my family? How is it going to impact my marriage, my ability to feed my kids, pay the mortgage, put gas in the car to get to work, and all of these things. So it's a prudential judgment call on the part of the individual person. But we wanted to talk about it today because it just seems like everywhere you look now, you watch TV, there's commercials for lottery and casinos and this and that and the other thing.
Even on your phone.
Even on your phone,
Even
right.
on your phone, yep.
So, Take Two family, do you dip your toe in the gambling pool once in a while? Perhaps you've developed a problem with that, and you would just like to share maybe as a warning to other people who are listening. We're taking just the usual Take Two look at this topic. No judgment. Everybody, it's a safe place. Your stories drive the program at 833-288-3986.
But we do need to fill up the phone lines, so we do want you to call in. We invite you to call in at 833-288-3986. Again, you don't have to out yourself. You can use your confirmation name, okay? And you can just talk about if you kind of went into that gambling mode and you took it to the extreme, and it could have really hurt your family, your relationships, maybe your work. The thing about gambling, you lose track of time. There's a reason why there's no clocks in the casinos, and there's a reason why there's no windows in a casino, because the idea is to feed that part of your brain where you walk away from the world. You have nothing restricting you, nothing that you are bound by, and you can just be free, right? But that costs money, and people work hard for their money, and they should be good stewards of what God has given us the ability to earn and to do, and we should be very. I always look at it like this: all things in moderation, because once it gets out of that boundary, Jerry, I have seen it ruin lives completely.
It's hard to get it back under control, that's for sure. And another thing too, you were talking about no clocks on the walls, no windows in casinos. In my experience, maybe this is different for you or other people, the only place I've ever seen those signs for, if you have a gambling problem, call this number, is on the way out.
Yeah.
It's on the inside of the doors. As you come in, you don't see them.
Right.
As you're going out, you do see them. This is not, we're not here to slam casinos or anything like that.
Right.
But there is an absolute, I'm sure, Debbie, decades old, psychology behind all of this, where they place the machines. And we're not talking just about casinos, folks. What about, lottery? What about bingo in church? How do you feel about that? Maybe, we used to have, remember S&H green stamps? That wasn't gambling, though.
I remember those.
You got those for filling
wow.
your car up with gas. It was the Irish sweepstakes, though, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of churches have bingo. That's a big deal. So we want to hear from you. The number to dial is 833-288-3986. We're on location here at the Convention Center in Phoenix, Arizona. Please stay with us as we talk about gambling today on Take Two.
EWTN, helping people grow in their love and understanding of God.
I just appreciate everything that you're doing to strengthen marriages. My husband and I always, from the beginning, believed that God was the center of our marriage and that was the foundation that we were building our life on. We were blessed in that way. A lot of couples don't understand that going in. But thank you for what you're doing for couples and marriages. I really appreciate it.
This is Debbie Georgiani. If you missed part of today's show, catch the encore tonight at midnight Eastern. Check out the podcast anytime at EWTNradio.net and click podcasts.
Here's today's quote from Mother Angelica's perpetual calendar. Teach me, my Jesus, how to maintain joy in the midst of difficulties, the kind of joy that is the fruit of your presence in my soul, your love in my heart, the joy that comes from a loving acceptance of the Father's will in my moment-to-moment existence. Mother's spiral-bound perpetual calendar is available from the EWTN Religious Catalog at EWTNRC.com. That's EWTNRC.com.
EWTN Media Missionaries prayerfully take EWTN to parishes and the community through the print and electronic media we provide. Visit EWTNmissionaries.com today. Join us in sharing the eternal word with the world.
All right, very good. Take two with Jerry and Debbie and you. It's an exciting week going on, a lot happening. The EWTN Annual Catholic Radio Conference, people from all over the United States and really around the world gathering here in the greater Phoenix area, and that is coming up on Friday. Tomorrow we actually have a wonderful trip to see, are they the Poor Clare sisters?
Yes.
Poor Clare sisters in Tonopah, Arizona, about an hour west of here. The annual radio conference always includes a retreat. Folks, there's a very profound and deep spiritual reality and component to Catholic radio. So please pray for us tomorrow in that retreat. conference on Friday and the EWTN Family Celebration on Saturday. And I wanted to tell you real quick, before we go to the phones in our conversation about gambling, wanted to say Paint by Number, Our Lady of Grace, is a set that is a simple and fun art activity for kids and adults alike. This ready-to-use kit includes everything you need to create a beautiful work of art. A high-quality numbered canvas, 3 different size brushes, individual painting pots for every color in the painting, and also instructions, and each kit is produced with care and attention to produce a painting as close to the original artwork as possible.
Nice.
It's beautiful. The finished image measures 12 inches by 12 inches. It's available now at EWTNRC.com, where you get free standard shipping for online orders $75 or more in the continental United States. Just use code FREE at checkout.
Okay, we have a couple open phone lines. We're talking about gambling today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We are on location, sitting next to each other. Actually, Jerry's not in California. He is here in Arizona, and we're waving to YouTube, Facebook. See, I can actually tap Jerry on the shoulder. Sometimes when I get very excited, I actually shove Jerry right off the chair. And that's an interesting situation. I've done that a few times to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you take it. You take it for the team. That's a good thing.
I do, yeah.
I can't help it. I talk with my hands. But we have 3 open phone lines, Jerry, so we need to fill those.
Yeah, 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. If you just clicked your radio on a minute ago, it's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. And we're talking today about gambling. Do you engage in gambling a little bit? Are you able to use self-control all the time? What about, what about your kids? Do you have concerns about your kids? Because these sports betting organizations are going online now, and it can't be regulated maybe in the same way that other things can. So
That's true.
Maybe you've got some concerns about your kids or a spouse. Maybe you've had a problem with it yourself. I'll tell you one thing. When we go through hard things in our lives and you share them on this show, Debbie, lives are changed and maybe souls are saved. So it's very important that if God puts that little nudge on your heart to call in, that you do so at 833-288-3986.
Okay, Molly is up first in North Dakota, listening on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Molly. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I just want to share that it's never too early to discuss gambling with children, and I'd like to thank my older brother. He's about 9 years older than me, and I was playing the claw game as a child where you try to grasp the stuffed animal from the machine, and I kept begging my family members for more and more quarters because I kept losing. And my brother, he pulled me aside and he said, "Molly, you need to stop because I see something in you that could be really bad when you're older." And he talked to me about gambling. And I felt that in my heart and in my brain, the lie that I was being told that I need to do this over and over again to win. And so I was young, and I've been aware of that feeling ever since, and it's not a great feeling. And it's resurfaced in different ways, just nothing major, but like at a carnival, there's like that quarter push game, and I would spend all of my, that like charity Mardi Gras event is what it was called. I spent all my quarters right away on one game and asked my mom for more, and she would say that's the end of it. And that was going to charity. But even still, I think, I don't know. I think gambling can be a really, it's not right for our brains for whatever reason. I don't know the psychology behind it. But I'm really thankful I was made aware of that
early on. Molly, you're not alone. Okay, the casinos and every type of ongoing betting system. They know that. They know how to work with our brains. They know what keeps us hooked. They know what keeps us coming back for more, right? Or keep trying, like you said, you kept trying with that game. But what I love about what you shared is you recognize that in you. So then you know then that type of situation or that scenario is probably not the best for you when it comes to how you can keep in moderation, right? So if you know that about yourself, you work with yourself, and that's a good thing. And as we mature, like we always weave this into our spirituality, And Molly, as you mature spiritually, you go, well, you know what? I have this kind of personality that I could get hooked on things. So I'm going to make sure that I choose when my guardian angel taps me and says, would you rather go to, a bingo hall, or would you rather go to adoration? I'm going to choose adoration because I know that's where I need to be. See, it's interesting because just like you recognize that about yourself, Molly, the demons also know that now. They know that. They know our habits and what we do and our, inclinations and the things that made us behave a certain way. They know how to tap that and see if it ignites it again in us. So I love the fact that you recognize it, and I do the same thing. I recognize all the things that goes on with me, and then I work towards not having any type of near occasion of sin. So I'd like to hear what Jerry has to say about that.
Well, I echo everything that Debbie said, Molly, and it sounds like you had the foundation built early in your life that you could kind of make that distinction and pull yourself up short, before you got too terribly involved. And I will just say my own experience of gambling is for decades and decades, I've gone into casinos and walked right by everything straight to the buffet. And I don't say that it really is necessarily as a joke, because that's why I go there.
For the eating.
Playing the games. I just have always had this thought, and I think a lot of people have this thought, Debbie and Molly. I'm just going to hand them my money. I might as well just write a check for $100, hand it to the pit boss or somebody, and
you ultimately lose. Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of a overarching fear that I have.
Right.
But it's so easy really to get sucked into any type of gambling and get yourself into trouble. Then pretty soon lots of bad things can happen.
Yeah. So what do you think about what we shared, Molly?
Thank you for sharing all of that. I do have to add one thing. I'm gracious that I am surrounded by people who are temperate, or they don't gamble heavily. And my fiance, he refuses to gamble in any way. I'll walk by a raffle, which I see as a donation, and he goes, "That's gambling. Let's, like you said, let's just write them a check. We don't need to be involved in the gambling part of it." So he totally abstains from all of it, which I really admire. In things that I wouldn't see as gambling, but my competitive nature, I go, "Oh, I want to be the winner," and so that's where I'm cognizant of that. Thank you guys so much for this discussion.
Yeah, Molly, you're awesome. Thank you you were first up, and we were getting a lot of comments coming in from folks saying that they like to see us actually physically together on location and doing the show. So, Molly, you were the first caller for that on location at the Phoenix Convention Center. So thank you so much.
Of course. Have a good day. Bye.
You too. God bless you.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments. Gigi said, it's good to see the two of you together doing the show.
Yeah, I just blew her a kiss on social media. I hope
You did?
Yeah, don't tell your husband, John, Gigi, but...
Well, then I want to blow her a kiss, too.
We love her. We love her so much.
Yes, Gigi's awesome. She's incredible. Yeah.
All right, here's an update on that phone number, 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. It's all around us. You can't totally avoid it. It's called gambling. And we're just talking about the different types, like maybe church bingo or the lottery that you buy at the local, the local gas station. Perhaps going to casinos. You don't have to go to Vegas or Atlantic City anymore. They're right there where we are. There's online betting. So many traps to fall into. And as I said earlier, the church would not say that most of these are intrinsically immoral.
That's true.
But the church also gives great guidance about how to avoid the dangers that are there. So.
Yep, the pitfalls. Yep. I just want to say one thing about casino gamblers. I did a little bit of a deep dive study on the emotional kind of state of people that go into casino gambling for any length of time, like 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours a couple times a week. It turns out, and it's very interesting, and I've always said we should do some kind of book or some kind of speaking thing on it, because it actually, they sometimes gamblers are labeled as, oh, they don't have anything going on in their life. There's, and I've even heard some people say, oh, gamblers are losers and stuff like that. That's just not true. Do you know that actually when I did the study on it, gamblers by nature are very deep emotional people that have gotten hurt or wounded. And so they go to casinos to, it's almost like to self-medicate to kind of heal and feel better. Isn't that interesting?
It is. Doesn't surprise me. Human psyche is very, very powerful, and even when it comes to seeking to mend itself.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, where are we going?
Our good friend Bobby in Alexandria, South Dakota is up next, listening on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Bobby. Good to have you back on the show.
Well, good morning, and thank you. Great topic. Thank you. Good to talk to you again.
Likewise.
Very good point you made, too, Debbie, about people that self-medicate and whatever it may be, collecting too many cats or playing golf 24 hours a day, whatever it may be. Yeah, there's a damage in there, and well put, very well put. Myself, it didn't go towards gambling. It was like I never saw a bottle of wine that I didn't like that I could drink for breakfast. So, but that having been said, I got a different slant about my own personal with gambling. And as I had mentioned, I know, Debbie, for 30 years, my career for over-the-road trucking, coast to coast, international. And when I'd get through Vegas or Reno, and I had downtime, layover time, a weekend waiting to deliver or anything like that on Monday. I had fun at the truck stop with the slots, but it was weird. I would go in, I'd take in my $20. I'd plan on that it's going to go away and the house is going to get it. And then sometimes it'd take me 2 or 3 hours to lose that 20, and then the rest of the evening I'd just spend looking at people, looking at me while I was drinking free Coca-Cola. And it's like, cool, I'm tired now. I'm going to go out to the truck and go to bed. And as far as, and that's my own personal take, And as far as playing the lotto, I won big once. I won $7, and I took that big winning, and I plowed it into another ticket, and then I, of course, lost it the next week.
Sure.
And I get more. My games of chance that I actually look at. For me, it's more I take a chance on gambling on whether I'm going to get the potato chip bag open without spilling them on the floor. So, in a nutshell, I can take it or leave it. It's fun at its own level, and then when I've had my fun, I just go away. That's just my own head,
Right. Bobby, when you were truck driving, did you find that when you were at these stops, like overnight or the weekends, was it a sense of boredom that led for you to maybe just kind of, have that kind of mindless fun, if you will, while you're waiting? Because I sometimes think when I see folks gambling on a regular basis, they seem like they have a lot of time, so the boredom could set in. Was that ever a factor, Bobby?
For me, I think it was because the type of career I mostly had, I'd be gone for weeks at a time from home. And I wanted to get away from the job, the truck, and I didn't want to touch it, smell it, look at it, think about it, or anything like that. So I was doing something completely devoid of the job.
Gotcha.
And it was, I guess, a relief, a release. It was another world. And all the little lights and all the things like that, and I didn't have to worry about weather or schedules or any of that.
Right.
And then, of course, then the hour of reckoning comes when I get too tired and I just want to go to bed. And oops, there is the Freightliner sitting there waiting for me. It was a little bit of entertainment escapism.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's, probably as healthy an approach as anybody's going to have to that, Bobby. And I'm sure you're grateful that you didn't, ever get the bug in you to go, hog wild on it, and lose your house or your life, savings or anything like that. But I just really applaud you. I'd say your approach is probably a lot like mine that I was describing a minute ago. And I didn't say that because I don't have any vices. I just say this isn't one of them.
Jerry's perfect. Jerry's perfect, Bobby. Just kidding.
Yeah, well, I was thinking last.
Then you're trying to be like me.
Yes. We pick only the best role models here, Bobby, and you are one of them.
That's right. And you're in our prayer book, Bobby.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Thank you.
All right.
And have a wonderful time at the convention. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll think about you. I'll pray for you in my evening prayers.
Please do. Please do. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to be at the book signing, I think, table, and we're going to be even with Doug Keck's show, right? So we're going to be doing.
So, yeah,
it's going to be so much fun. Thanks, Bobby. Okay, everybody else, hang on. You hear that beautiful music, and when Ace McKay starts that music, we got to take the break. When we come back, more about gambling today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Church Pop takes a fresh and fun look at the news shaping our world, featuring engaging, inspiring, and informative Catholic social media content. Find it on Snapchat, Instagram, and on the web at churchpop.com. And you can get Church Pop emailed directly to your inbox. Visit EWTN.com and click subscribe. EWTN, the Global Catholic Network.
Живи в правді, живи по-католически.
Vivi la verità, vivi cattolico.
Mabuhay sa katotohanan. Isabuhay ang pagiging katoliko.
In any language, it means the same. Live truth. Live Catholic. EWTN.
This is Father Josh McCarty. Lord God, you have given us the gift of life as one of your preeminent gifts to us and constantly reminds us of your role in our lives. May men and women, mothers and fathers, lovingly be open to the gift of life which you bestow on us, and may those who seek to put it to an end be brought into your mercy to see the gift and challenge that life truly is. May you bring the scourge of abortion to an end in our world.
This is Father John Trigilio. Almighty God, we pray that through your divine grace, you can move all those in public authority to once and for all stand up and defend those who have no voice, for the most innocent and for the most defenseless, the unborn. Help us, Lord, by vanquishing once and for all this evil to our human race. Amen.
Hi, this is Janet Williams. You don't have to be a woman to enjoy Women of Grace tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern here on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello again. Welcome back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. And we have a lot of you who want to weigh in on this topic of gambling. We're just taking kind of a 38,000-foot view of it, not looking at any particular type of gambling. We're kind of bunching them all together. So it could be bingo, it could be the lottery, it could be casinos, it could be online sports betting, it could be going. Debbie, I think you even said maybe even the stock market could be kind of a form of gambling.
Some people think it is, but there's a bunch of articles online saying no way because they showed all the things of why it's not. But some people say that you can. It's risk, right? It's a risk. So with that, it could be a form of a type of gambling if it gets out of hand.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
I think so. Let's go to Mary in Wyoming, listening on Real Presence Radio. Hello, Mary. Thank you very much for your call today.
Oh, you're welcome.
So what would you like to share with us?
Well, I'm older, and many, many years ago, when I got married, I knew when I got married that my husband, I was too naive to realize that gambling could be a problem. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening with us is he would be gone literally every evening except Sunday because of the gambling. There was always a place he could go to gamble.
Right.
And it took him away from the family. It took him away from us being able to do other things as a family. And I had always been raised that You don't create waves. You just accept things. And I finally got the nerve in a retreat to talk to a priest about this. And he says, well, have you ever told him that it bothers you, him being gone all the time? And I'm talking 10 years at least, maybe 11. And I said, well, he knows. And he says, have you ever told him? And I said, no. And he says, you have to tell him.
Mm-hmm.
So I did, finally. I got up the nerve. His response was interesting. It was, well, I thought you were being awfully nice about it. Now, did telling him stop the problem? No, it didn't. But at least it got it out in the open. And in his case, the gambling was, he was unhappy in the workplace, and he was a person that was probably always going to be dissatisfied in the workplace because it didn't meet his standards as to what a workplace should be. He was always a little bit disappointed in people, and so it was an escape.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would just like to comment on that for a moment because my former husband was really big on college football on Saturdays. I believe that's and the spreads and everything that you look at, and then the professional on Sundays, and it was a constant obsession with looking forward to the weekend to check the spreads and then to talk about what everybody's going to bet on the ball games and everything, and it was all this time spent, and it was and it was, in my opinion, Mary, it was the exact same thing. I really think he was not fulfilled in his work at all. He was doing well. He provided for the family, but I think he looked forward to the weekends so he could escape and he loved sports. He loved football, and he thought it was fun, and everybody else was doing it in his peer group, and so they had all these fantasy football leagues and all this kind of stuff, and it was driving me crazy, Mary. And I did exactly what you did. Now, the difference for me is that he did stop for many years, but then we ended up, unfortunately, the marriage didn't survive, not only because of that, but we just went in completely different paths. So I'm curious, after you told your husband, did you see him come around a little bit, with, going to church and doing the things that are healthy for the family?
No, I really did not see his face. The positive, and it's been so many years ago now, I don't remember. Mm-hmm. He did eventually get beyond the gambling, but I think it was because he realized that gambling was not going to solve his problem of unhappiness in the workplace. In fact, he actually, at one point, he won enough money that he thought he could quit his job and just gamble for a living.
Oh, wow,
and so
like a professional gambler. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He did, but you know what he found out? When he had to pay attention to it, to really study it and everything, it became another job. And I think that is what helped him to stop more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But the sadness of that is, that was our young life. We could have been doing things and creating memories and doing things with other people, and we couldn't because I was home alone while he was out, and with the kids. So we weren't doing family things.
Yeah, that would bother me. Yeah.
Yeah, and so glad that you called, Mary. I have not been married myself, but I know I've seen a lot of marriages. Some have been fantastic, some have not been all that great, and a lot of times it is because one of the spouses, I think probably percentage-wise, probably more husbands than wives, they have to stop off at work for one with the boys, at the pub, or go to bowling, or like you said, in this case, your husband was out gambling every night. And I think your phone call is probably touching a lot of hearts right now, because there are a lot of couples, and maybe a lot of wives listening, maybe even some husbands listening, who are in a situation like this and really desperately want to have that unitive aspect of their marriage deepened, and spending time with the family and all of that. So, Mary, thank you. You've been a great teacher and an inspiration to all who are listening today, including us. So thank you, Mary.
Oh, you're welcome.
God bless you. Wow. Good conversation.
Great calls. I love the Take Two family. We do have full phone lines, so we'll move to Sophie. Sophie is near Buffalo, not in Buffalo, near Buffalo. Hello, Sophie.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi there.
Oh, hi. I can't believe I'm on. Thank you for taking my call. This is my first time ever calling into a radio show.
Oh, good.
So I'm not a lot nervous, a little nervous, and I have a little cold, so I'm congested. But what I wanted to share with the listening audience is just an experience, a recent experience, a sad experience, really, involving our parish priest, a former parish priest, if you will, a young priest from Poland, and he was not happy with, well, I'm starting this wrong, I'm sorry. I belong to a parish that has, the majority of parishioners are elderly, retired individuals.
Gotcha.
And they like their outings to casinos.
Mm-hmm.
And these outings were being posted on the bulletin. These individuals, the parishioners, were making it a part of the church bulletin, these outings. And the priest disapproved of it. Mm-hmm. And I did not attend the parish council meetings, but I was told, and the priest expressed it himself during the homily, that he was considering, he asked for a transfer to another parish, to the bishop. He asked to be transferred because he disapproved of these outings being posted on the bulletins, being part of the church life. And he was transferred, and I think he's happy in the new parish. And he was replaced by another young Polish priest who has a totally different approach. He doesn't make a big deal of it, let's say, to put it simply. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to, because there was reference made to priests who like to gamble in their free time and stuff like that, and the case where a priest disapproved of these these outings being posted in the bulletin. I don't think he cared if they did it on their own time and on their own, but getting the church parish involved in it wasn't something that he approved of.
Right.
That's all I wanted to say. Nothing in depth, or just to share that little story there.
You did great, Sophie, and your voice sounds fantastic, and you're listening on the Station of the Cross, and we hope you're going to call us again. You've got to call us again because you were great, but Jerry wants to comment on your call.
Well, I just wanted to say my last year, Sophie, I spent 6 years in formation for the priesthood. My last year in actual seminary before my pastoral year was at a seminary on the East Coast, and one of the priests in that archdiocese went to Atlantic City and actually won $1 million.
Wow.
So there was an example of a priest himself doing it, which, of course, like I said, there's nothing immoral or unethical about it. But what I think is interesting and important to note with these, especially the senior citizens, the single people, Sophie, this is going to be, the only way I know how to put it is it's going to be probably a low level of gambling involvement. They're not going to be there that long. It's a structured trip. They know they got meet the bus at this time. We're going to drop off at this time, probably gamble for an hour or two, have some lunch, maybe play a few more games and go home. Now, they're free to drop, $1 million in that amount of time if they want.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, so many of these people probably live at home alone, don't have anybody come to see them.
Thank you.
And, this is a chance for them to come together and share stories. I just can imagine, Debbie, on the bus rides, the stories that must be told. This trip isn't about gambling for them, I don't think, first and foremost.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I know it firsthand because my mother lived in a retirement community here in Arizona, Sophie, and it was exactly that. They would have these bus trips. They'd go down for the day. They'd have lunch. They were singing during the bus ride. They stopped off for ice cream. They all got together. And yes, they did gamble. And but, you know, my parents worked hard for their money, and they wanted to enjoy their retirement. My dad dies, and so they didn't get to really enjoy what they wanted to. My mother, you know, she had enough money to live and to also have the kind of fun entertainment, if you will. So there was no harm at all. I mean, it was more for the social, you know, getting together and talking and laughing and singing. And I just want to say this, you're going to see a lot of that. Wouldn't you agree, Sophie? You're going to see a lot of that in these retirement communities where the elderly live, because their kids are not living there anymore, the kids and grandkids. And I know this because when my mother taking care of her for 11 years, people would go months before they'd even pick up the phone and call their parents and grandparents. So what are they supposed to do all day long? I mean, yes, they can go to church, and they do, and they pray the rosary, and they get involved in groups, but you know, what are they doing for that social you know, interaction? What do you think, Sophie, real quick?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not really judging anyone, the priest or the parishioners. I just wanted to throw that out there. But then on the same token, churches sponsor bingo, right?
Exactly.
So what is really the big? So I don't know why the priest. I really don't know why he was so against that. I don't know. It was other issues too, probably.
Well, and he's probably seen situations where people have lost their houses, lost their relationships, and he doesn't want to be a party to that, because that could be on potentially, you know, his soul, and that's the way he's thinking it. So I totally respect that of that priest. I mean, absolutely. You don't have to go along with it.
Bingo and casinos are two different ballparks too.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. And thank you very much for taking me and for sharing your stories.
Okay.
And all the best. Thank you.
Put our phone number on your fridge, Sophie, so next time you have something you want to contribute, we'd love to have you back with us.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's so sweet.
I actually, I knew a parish about 30 miles from where I lived when I lived in San Diego, and I won't say the parish name, but the priest there, he bought an old school bus and turned it into a bus that he himself took the groups to, not always casinos. They'd go to the observatory.
Right. Aquarium.
So that's the
and
thing,
stuff like
you know,
that.
it's just...
People, we were made for community. The people don't want to sit in their homes all day long and not have anybody to talk to. It's very difficult.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how I would do with that. Obviously, being on the radio, you know, talking to people all the time. But that day is going to come, I think, for all of us, and hopefully we'll all have the companionship that we need.
You can call me.
Okay.
I may not answer, and my voicemail may be full, but you can try anyway.
All right. Weeping Willows Nursing Home. May I speak to Debbie Georgiani, please?
Okay, so we wanted to draw your attention to Mass from Our Lady of the Angels Chapel every morning, 8 Eastern Time on EWTN Radio, and every 2 hours on EWTN Radio Essentials. See, this is what happens, folks, when we actually do get together and do the show. See, this is we've gotten kicked out of restaurants. It's bad. It's not good. You need to stay in California. That's all I'm going to say.
Don't make me do that. Okay, Pat is next, listening in Pennsylvania on, let me see here. I got to get my cursor over there, and I can't find it. There, Alexa. Pat's listening on Alexa. Hi there.
Alexa.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi,
Pat. I just wanted to say that the what Debbie has said is what I have lived, and the addiction to gambling, it's devastating for the people who love them. It just goes past the relationships. It has ruined our relationships. I don't want to go into it, but you know, when the money is more important than the relationship, I just learned my best lesson, just like you said, Debbie, that. You know, a little bit of gambling, that's okay, you know, but to put your whole paycheck on it or whatever, that's not it. But I had gone to the Catholic Church, and the idea that I was taught that I learned more positive lessons of not gambling than I did from their negative reactions.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank God for the Catholic Church for teaching me that I can go to bingo and I can, I can't see too well, so I can't do bingo anymore. But I could go to bingo and I could enjoy the company of the people.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm in a Lioness group where we help to have bingos for money to do the things that are needed in the township. But
right.
But I learned. I said to my sister's daughter, I learned more from her negativity than I ever learned from any positive.
Mm-hmm.
But the only reason I learned that is because I got to the Catholic Church and they told me about that balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I really have enjoyed it, because if I do gamble, I enjoy it. It's done.
Right.
When it's over, it's done. It's not, the gambling doesn't have me. But
Right.
I learned this because of the things that happened at home, and from the idea of gambling. And in those days, when I think of it today, I don't want to put them down. I want you to think I'm putting them down for it, because in those days they didn't have the money that we have nowadays, and that was just a little bit of, anything that you won. Geez, you won $20. That was big. That was really big. $20. I won $20 at bingo.
Mm-hmm.
So that was big. I can understand it, but it ruined our relationship. And getting into that gambling addiction it really does.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have any feelings.
Right.
For
you just Pat, you just said something, and it just made me think of something. And Jerry was going to comment, but I just asked him to hold on 1 second, because you make a really good point. When you're gambling, right, it's a single activity. And even if you were to go out gambling as a couple, you're side by side. It's a side by side activity. That's not really building a relationship. That's why I always tell couples, like, even when you go to the movies, as date night or whatever, make sure you go out to dinner first, or at least make sure you spend that time talking, because going to a movie is a side by side activity. You could be sitting next to strangers. Right, so you're not really building anything when you're gambling, and that's why I used to. My first job was in a restaurant as a bartender, and people would come to the bar and they'd be sitting by themselves, just pouring down drinks. And what kind of relationship building are they doing there? They're not, right? So you got to look at that idea. If you're going to do something, make it worth for the relationship, to deepen the relationship. I think you just made me think of that, Pat, and I appreciate that.
Exactly.
Real quickly, look, the only thing I would say, Pat, is you are blessed, because you said, you learned what not to do by watching what other people did do, and we all have those lessons daily around us if we're open to seeing them and experiencing them, and where that they're happening. So. We're so sorry that it did cost you the relationship, but thanks be to God, you didn't get sucked all the way down into that either. So, and sure. I echo what Debbie said too. Debbie's always got some brilliant comments to make. So,
aww.
Pat, thank you very much for calling from Pennsylvania. We appreciate your participation on the show today. Doug is in Waterford, Michigan, listening on Ave Maria Radio today. Hello, Doug. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi, Doug.
Hi. Isn't it okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. I have 3 words for gambling. The house wins.
Mm-hmm. All
That's
the time.
The house wins, and it's almost like, yeah, I know the house wins. It's entertaining, and to an extent, I'm willing to pay an entertainment tax. Some people know that, and they go ahead just like, I enjoy myself. But then there are people who are addicted, and one of the things I haven't heard anyone mention before is, and I don't have the expertise on this, but I have heard that sometimes people go from one type of addictive behavior to another type of addictive behavior because of something in their brain. I truly don't know what I'm referring to, but I have heard that. Mm-hmm. But the other thing was the odds. On another station one time, I heard a Las Vegas odds maker refer, without being derogatory, to the Powerball, the multi-state where the odds are gazillions to one.
Mm-hmm.
He referred to them objectively, very matter-of-factly, as sucker bets. Now, I'm a Knight of Columbus, and we have raffles. And what I wanted to tell you is, when you buy, like a religious order sent me a raffle notice the other day. They're only selling 100 tickets, and each ticket costs $100 to win either an automobile or a $20,000. I think it was 100 tickets. Well, anyway, when in a local raffle, your odds are by far better of winning, even when you're happy to buy a raffle ticket with the thought that it's a charitable donation, and hey, I might win $1,000 prize. You know, that's a whole different muscle group, if you will, when you're buying into a local raffle. Yes, the sponsoring entity still wins. That's always true. But in a charitable raffle, the odds are so much better, and the money goes toward a children's home or something that you really want to see given a boost.
Yeah. Well, brother, I'm a fourth-degree Knight as well, so thank you for being in the Knights. Debbie's husband is a fourth-degree Knight as well. And you're right. I have never seen a casino being bulldozed, razed to the ground. I've seen many of them put up, and you see lots of cranes around city skylines and country skylines where they're building them. And you know what? More power to them. It's their money. There's a lot of not so good things that happen as a result of these things, but that's not for any of us to say, whether they should do it or not. But you're right. The house does win, and you made the point about the brain. Neither of us are experts on this, but we have heard many things that there is a chemical kind of reaction. Debbie, you know what I'm talking about?
Isn't it like a dopamine hit?
Yeah, when you're involved in addictive behaviors, your brain even starts to react in a certain way.
It gets rewired.
And then your brain is of course up there with your mind and your thought process, and pretty soon you're thinking, I got to get that, I got to get that, I got to get that. So, Doug, thank you, brother. We are just getting ready to close the show, and boy, I wish we could do a part 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on this, and we will have to revisit it.
Well, we have a pre-recorded show tomorrow, and then we have unscripted. Don't we have unscripted on Friday?
Yeah,
okay, so we could always talk about gambling again.
Yeah, we'll have to revisit it,
Yeah. Okay, can I just make comments real quickly? Jennifer says that seniors love to go to casinos. She owns a charter bus. Yep, I totally can understand that. I live in the retirement capital in Arizona. Everybody comes here to retire. Sharon wanted to share a funny story. Ruth wants to add in Marianne talking about how it can ruin the family. We talked about that. Yep, and the house wins. Yep, Doug, we got it. Okay.
Wow, that was a good conversation.
That was great.
Yeah.
I think all things in moderation.
Yeah.
Just be prudent. Just be, remember what does God want for you? Does God want you to spend that mindless time doing casino gambling, or should you go to adoration?
Yeah.
And deepen your faith life.
I would say if anyone else is going to be impacted by your gambling decisions, talk to them.
Right.
Be open. Have a dialogue about it. Husbands, wives, don't just start off on this path and your spouse doesn't know about it, or you're going to be damaging your kids. Like I said, their educational expenses, taking food off the table, things like that. So just be open and honest about it. And all things, as Debbie said, in moderation. So tomorrow we have Father Chris Alar of the Missionaries of the Immaculate Conception. You do not want to miss this show, folks. It's pre-recorded, all about suicide and many other things, divine mercy, and then unscripted on Friday. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. St. Joseph, pray for us. And thanks to our show team.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
It is a tremendous